Good evening, everybody, and welcome here to the Indianapolis Raceway Park. It plays host to the 22nd race of the MSRA Reaper Speed Lab Truck Series. As here tonight, it's the regular season finale. Once the checkered flag waves, we're going to know our playoff contenders for 10 playoff races, eventually going to crown ourselves a champion. I'm Seth Cole, being joined here by Kyle Lawrence. And Kyle, we talked about this off of our last broadcast, the fact that a short track is playing host to where drivers are going to be making moves for those final potential spots inside of the playoff grid under the lights here as well. So getting ready for some good old nighttime short track racing should be good.
Yeah, short track racing to end the regular season is probably the best way to do it. And it's been a long time since these drivers have been on a short track. You have to go all the way back to Bristol at the beginning of the season was the last time they were at a short track. So we'll have to see how these drivers are able to handle these tight corners.
Be 174 laps here this evening for these drivers. So we do know that there will be a stage caution at the completion of lap 30. Maybe one of the things I was noticing here, not exactly sure just how abrasive this particular track is on the tires. I would assume with the low banking, it would actually put quite a bit of pressure, quite a bit of wear on the Goodyears, but these guys only have 3 additional tire sets available for them on pit road. 174 laps, it may not seem like a long distance, but they're going to be screaming for tires if we get some long green flag runs for sure.
Yeah, this is one of those tracks that tears up tires. I don't even know when the last time this track got repaved. A very old track surface here, Lucas Oil Raceway, also known as IRP Indianapolis Raceway Park. A very difficult track, very hard on tires, and you were saying it right there, Seth. These drivers are going to have to pick the right moment to take fresh Goodyears.
Looks like we've got 12 drivers that are going to take the green flag. We showed you your starting lineup back through the top 10. Chuck Waldrop and Matt Knight look like they're going to make up the 6th and final row. Andrew Navarro back in the field here tonight, the 2-time winner who came into tonight's regular season finale as the final cutoff line driver. So he'll be looking for 3rd win on the season heading into the postseason. Alongside of him is Blake Bottoms. I was watching this guy in practice, and this guy was putting together some really good lap times, especially on the long run, so maybe looking for a big-time debut race here tonight as we're getting ready to turn him loose under the lights here at Lucas Oil.
Green flag is in the air here at IRP, and the 42 of Navarro. Oh, and it looks like Bottoms gets into the wall. There in turns 1 and 2, he's going to be able to recover. Boyd Hogan right there behind him, though, going into turns 3 and 4.
Bottoms had his hands full, almost got that outside wall, may have clipped it with the right rear. That allows Andrew Navarro to scamper away. Boyd Hogan continuing on that bottom line, trying to take 2nd place, and they're stacked up from 2nd place on back. Agnell Phillip, Casey Tucker right there as well, in case either of those two make a mistake.
Andrew Navarro trying to check out early. Blake Bottoms holding on to that 2nd spot for now, but Boyd Hogan and Agnell Phillip want it. And you mentioned it right there, Seth. They're all getting kind of stacked up, 2nd on back. Now the battle's on for 3rd. Phillip trying to put his nose underneath Hogan. He's not able to make it stick coming out of turns 1 and 2.
Truck pushed up there off the 2nd corner. Ooh, right there, 96 took a shallow entry into 3. He slides up the track, and Agnell Phillip had a very good 3rd corner, right back to the bumper of the 96 machine. Now, we talked about this for the last month or so. A lot of drivers that were up above that cut line, eligible for playoff positions, we were not seeing them week after week, so we were wondering if they were going to show up here tonight, and if they weren't, would they still be moving on to the postseason? There was a post that was put out this week by adminship that if drivers were planning on battling for the championship, they're above that cut line, they had to make the start here tonight to be eligible to advance into the playoffs. And it looks like about 5 drivers by my last count are doing just that. Navarro, Boyd Hogan, Braxton Dewis, Christopher Hill, and I believe Chuck Waldrop all in the field tonight, solidifying the fact that they will battle for the championship when we get to next week's race.
Yeah, those 5 drivers might be the only 5 competing for the championship. The other 5 that are above that cut line coming into tonight would be Christopher Pfeffer, Daniel Simmons, Tanner Love, Jamie Knopf and TJ Crampton, all those drivers are not here at the moment for this race. So we'll have to see what happens in the week to come, but it looks like that they're going to be eliminated from the playoffs here, Seth.
You have to wonder about a couple of drivers like Agnew Phillip. We've seen him go to victory lane. There's been a couple of other part-time drivers that aren't running for points, but you have to wonder if maybe once we get to the point standings put together for the postseason, if those drivers might actually be made playoff eligible based on the fact that they've made quite a number of starts here this season despite being on part-time.
We'll have to see, Seth, on what the decisions will be on playoff drivers, if they'll decide to run with 5 or if they'll keep the original 10 or just add in drivers, whether they're part-time or full-time or if they're just here tonight. We'll have to see what they decide on that. But there is 5 drivers that we know will be competing for a championship this fall here in the Reaper Speedlab Truck Series. And one of those drivers is our current race leader, has led the whole race so far, Andrew Navarro in the 42. Looking really strong early, Seth.
We're riding on board there with another driver that we know will see battle for the championship here. It's the 99 of Christopher Hill, who's really boxed in right now. That's Dylan Canova, the 47, just ahead of him. The 74 of Wesley Jeanette ahead of both of those drivers. And the 99 started this race from 10th. And that's where he currently sits at. So it's looking like at least here in the early going, when the trucks were all bunched up, you could make a pass here or a pass there, but now things have gotten spread out. Track position, I think, is going to be super key here tonight.
One battle I'm really watching right now is back there around Christopher Hill. That's looks like Jeanette and looks like Dylan Canova, a new driver here to the Reaper Speedlab Truck Series. And Jeanette's in the wall and he's spinning. Oh! He's gonna get back straight, no caution. He didn't go into a full spin. Green stays out, no caution.
Little contact made there with Christopher Hill, but you're right, able to get the wheels turned back to the right. Little four-wheel drift, but did not go completely around, so we remain under the green flag here. But we talk about the importance of preserving those tires. A spin certainly not going to help that out for the 74.
Yeah, Jeanette definitely flat spotted those tires right there a little bit at least. That was a pretty heavy slide. Very impressive that he didn't fully spin around and he was able to get back going as quickly as he was. But at this point, he's hoping on a caution, or he might be one of the first drivers that makes the green flag pit stop.
Saw the 7 of Chuck Waldrop there just now coming onto the racetrack. Missed the start, so he'll be 12 laps down, but at least going to go out there and log some laps. Potential battle here closing up for the 5th position. That's where Casey Tucker looks back about 3 truck lengths. Sees Jonathan Delaney, then another 2.5 truck lengths back to Braxton Dewis. And now coming into tonight's race, there is still potentially a battle for the regular season championship. 69 points separate Boyd Hogan from Braxton Dewis, but with Hogan running right now in 3rd and Dewis back in 7th, looks like if there are any bonus points for winning the regular season championship, they would go towards the 7-time winner Boyd Hogan.
Yeah, it's going to be really difficult for Dewis to snag that regular season championship here tonight, but either way, very impressive run from Dewis. I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago with Dewis. He's probably been the most improved driver on the season. He's just always out there competing and really pushing through. Even if he gets a lot of damage, he stays out there and gets as many points as he possibly can. And that's one of the reasons why he's up here in 2nd in the points here at the end.
Yeah, he talked about the impressive run so far by Andrew Navarro, dominating since the drop of the green flag. Let's not forget that one of his 2 victories this season came at Martinsville, another track that's a short track and very low banking. So, maybe a little bit of what he learned there at the paperclip half mile. Well, it's not really a half mile, it's a little over a half mile. Might be some of the things that he's applying here tonight.
Martinsville, probably one of the most difficult short tracks. So if you can run Martinsville well, you can probably do any sort of short track well, except for maybe Bristol. Bristol's kind of its own sort of beast, but Martinsville is just so technical. You have to really be precise on that racetrack and really get into a rhythm. And if you get out of that rhythm, it makes it really difficult at Martinsville, Seth.
Battle for fifth. It's closed up. Slowly but surely, Delaney has reeled in Casey Tucker. He's been running a little bit higher than Tucker through the corners. I think Tucker noticed that. Now he runs a little bit wider through 1 and 2. Delaney counters running a half groove lower. So these two right now, a little cat and mouse game of which line they want to run through the corners.
This is one of those tracks you're just going to see them change their lines throughout. That's something I like about IRP. It's a lot different from really a lot of short tracks. It's multi-groove. You can kind of do the inside a little bit. You can do the middle. You can do the high side. What I personally like to do is, on the longer runs at least, get a very high entry and just kind of go all the way down to the bottom and take that really high exit. So there's just so many different lines you can take. You're going to be seeing drivers switching up their lines throughout the night.
When we looked at Christopher Hill last, he was back in the 10th position. He has since now worked his way up to 7th. He got around Dylan Canova, just made the pass moments ago on Braxton Dewis, so he's up 3 spots from his starting position. And looking at the lap times right now, he's running lap times even if not maybe just a tick faster than race leader Andrew Navarro. So if we're looking at a truck that may be the best on the long run, it could be that 99.
Not too surprising. We've seen it from these legacy esports guys all season long, especially with the driver like Christopher Hill and Christopher Pfeffer. I've seen those two drivers in particular start at the back in a lot of races and work their way to the front before the end of it. And by the end of the race, they're competing for the win. And sometimes they even snag the win. And Christopher Hill is that guy today, it looks like.
Delaney and Tucker continue this fight for the 5th position. They are actually, as they battle, starting to maybe close in as well on Agnew Phillips. So we could have a 3-truck fight for a spot inside of the top 5 here with about 5 laps remaining here in this stage. And you have to bear in mind the 82 and the 6, they're part-time drivers. They're not running for points. So one might be wondering, well, why are they battling this hard when they're not going to be eligible for any stage points? Well, as we said, it's going to be difficult to be able to pick up positions when the field spreads out. It's very difficult to pass. So if you pick up a spot here under green flag conditions and then maybe pick up another couple on pit road in the upcoming stage yellow, you find yourself up inside the top 3 for the upcoming restart.
Yeah, the more these tires wear out here, it just makes it even more difficult to pass. Honestly, when you get on these longer runs, the better place to pass is on that high side. That way you can get the run off. But trying to pass somebody on the inside lane once these tires are worn out is just nearly impossible unless you just get the perfect corner or the driver in front of you makes a mistake.
We're going to keep following this battle for 5th place. Andrew Navarro has now opened up a 2.5-second lead. And while that may not seem like much when you're at a 1.5 mile racetrack, that's an eternity when you consider a short track, because you were talking about rhythm tracks, and certainly IRP falls under that category. If you're closing in on somebody, it's never going to happen by tenths. It's going to happen by usually thousands, maybe hundreds if you're lucky.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those rhythm tracks, so you're going to be only catching up little bits at a time. Tracks like IRP, it tends to be, a lot of the drivers are very even on speed, so you're only going to cut at that gap little bits at a time, unless the driver in front of you makes a mistake and gets off rhythm. There's the end of the stage right there.
There's the stage caution as on board with Delaney trying to get that spot there at the last minute from Casey Tucker. Not going to be able to. Frozen field when the yellow flag comes out. It was interesting watching there that last portion of this run with the 6 of Jonathan Delaney. Saw a lot of counter steering there on the wheels, sawing it to the right through the center of the corners, so you could definitely tell rear grip and those tires was starting to go away.
Now these drivers are going to be able to get some fresh Goodyears on their trucks. Andrew Navarro leads them down pit road to take their first pit stop of the day. Looks like Hogan is a little far into his box. That's going to make his stop a little bit slower. We're going to see who gets out of pit road first.
Point of note, we saw Chuck Waldrop return, or come out onto the racetrack, I should say, as Navarro is going to win the battle off of pit road. Bottoms and Hogan follow him out in 2nd and 3rd, but Waldrop came out on the racetrack. He was 12 laps down at the time. logged a couple of laps, is now taking it back behind the wall, so he started the race, and that means that he is eligible now, being a driver above the cut line, to be battling for the championship when we start the playoffs in 2 weeks' time at Darlington Raceway.
And I think that was just the goal for Waldrop to at least just log some laps. He knew that he was locked into the playoffs as long as he at least started the race, and he just wanted to start the race and exit it, not get into any maybe incidents out here and maybe hurt his momentum and try to head into the playoffs clean.
Saw Robert Shin on pit road. He stayed out an extra lap, get a bonus point, and now he's down to pit road. Saw some right side damage on that 73 truck. So obviously at some point got into the outside wall. Take the corner a little too fast and don't have that rear grip. You're probably going to go up there and you're going to brush that outside safer barrier. But we know that the trucks are built pretty well, pretty durable. At a track like this, when you're not carrying nearly as much speed into the corner as you would at a 1.5-mile racetrack, those bigger speedways, I mean, you get a little bit of contact to that right side. Is your day done? Do you lose speed because of that? Do you lose handling, or does it not affect the truck?
Little right side damage, that's not going to do anything really at all at a track like this. Maybe if you get a little nose damage on the short run, it's not necessarily going to affect you, but on the long run, it's going to affect your handling on your machine, and in the long run, it's going to hurt your tires more.
So for drivers that came into this race below the cut line with an opportunity to maybe make their way into the playoff grid tonight, it does not look like there's anybody in the field that was in close proximity. The closest driver that took the green flag here tonight would be the aforementioned Robert Shin. He was 17th in overall points coming to this race, and he was about, I believe, 106 points behind the cut line. So it doesn't look like we'll get any last-minute drivers making their way into the playoff grid here this evening, as green flag back in the air. Andrew Navarro going to go right back to work trying to run away with this thing again. Battle again is going to be for second. Hogan, Bottoms, and now add Agnew, Phillip, and Tucker into the mix.
Phillip and Hogan going back and forth for third. Bottoms try. Oh! Phillip's in the wall. The 94. Hard hit to the outside wall in 3 and 4. He's going to lose a couple of spots because of that. Hogan's in the third spot. Now Delaney to the inside of Phillip. Dewis right behind him.
That was hard to tell if the truck got loose or if maybe hard on the brakes. If the right front locked up, and now Delaney down through the infield grass heading up towards the banking of 3. The caution's out. I don't believe it was for the Delaney incident. I think Robert Shin might have gone around off of turn 2.
Yeah, I just looked at Robert Shin. He had like a half spin, very similar to the one we saw earlier, but this time we actually got the caution flag for the number 73 of Shin.
There's a lot to look at here. Also notice that for the last 6 laps, Christopher Hill has been sitting on pit road, so not certain what's been going on in the 99 camp. We'll look first at what initially brought the caution flag out, then we'll take a more in-depth look at Delaney's wild ride there down the back. And yep, just as you said, 73 just stepped out there. Almost no warning there off the corner for the 73. Normally you'll see it a little bit out of shape before it eventually snaps, but it was just a clear-cut snap. Maybe taking him as much by surprise as it looked here on the camera.
Yeah, those are the very worst. I experience those sometimes in the next gen cars. I don't think I've experienced that necessarily in the trucks, but it does happen from time to time. And those are the very worst incidents because at that point, there's hardly anything you could do to save it. So it was very impressive that Shin was able to keep it straight. I'm surprised we actually got the caution flag for that incident.
That was a big break there for Jonathan Delaney as well, because Delaney could have fallen back a couple more positions when the caution came out. He was running in 7th, and as you saw there with that replay, was able to keep the thing from hitting that inside wall. But when we talk about the spin by Robert Shin, just how quickly it spun around, you could definitely see that Delaney was in trouble before he even got to the exit of the corner. You could start to see the back end of his truck going around. So uh, bit of a surprising spin there for the 73 and a heck of a save by Delaney in the 6. We're going to quickly see if we can go back just to see if there was something visible with Christopher Hill that has him pinned so many laps down. just to double check because, I mean, one thing that you don't want to do going into a playoff situation is go in there with bad momentum. This regular season finale, while for a number of drivers is just take the green flag, solidify your spot in the playoffs, you want to, if you can't get the win, at least have a top three, if not a top three, a top five, have the best finish possible, the best momentum possible going into that postseason.
Yeah, you want to have a bunch of momentum heading into the postseason. I'm looking at a driver like Andrew Navarro. Navarro, who's been absent a decent amount of the season, he's came into here at Lucas Oil Raceway 10th in points, and he started on the pole, and he's been putting on a show ever since they dropped the green flag.
Number of drivers that look like they'll end up missing out with not starting tonight on the postseason. Some really big names. I mean, Christopher Pfeffer, two-time winner. Daniel Simmons, he was maybe one of the more consistent drivers in the latter half of the top 10 during the first half of the season. Tanner Love, he was definitely a force to be reckoned with. We had him pegged, I think, like 2 or 3 weeks in a row as maybe a dark horse to pick up a win or two. TJ Crampton, our Daytona winner for the season opener. I mean, there's some really big names that, first 3, 4, 5 weeks of the season, we were looking at these guys like, hey, these guys are going to be playoff contenders. They're going to be championship contenders. And now it's looking like we may have an entirely different field of drivers battling for the title.
And we'll really have to figure that out, exactly what they're going to do, because I'm curious on how the playoff system will work if they end up going down to 5 drivers. We're about to take the green flag here as the pace truck pulls down pit road. Navarro approaching the restart zone, and there he goes. Green flag is out for the 42 of Navarro. Great restart from him. Immediately clears the 00 of Bottoms, and Hogan once again on the attack for that second position. But can he make the pass this time around?
Green 00 on the top side, the gold 96 on the bottom. Ooh, Hogan got really tight through the center, almost up into Bottoms through the center of 3 and 4. Still hanging tough on that inside line, though. And, oh, Bottoms going to get the wall there going into 1.
It looked like he kind of used it to his advantage. He kind of brushed the wall, and then he immediately dropped down low and had a phenomenal run out of the corner. And he's still nose to nose with the 96 of Hogan as Navarro begins to pull away from second and third.
He's on board with Casey Tucker. He's got the best seat in the house looking at this second place battle. Hogan on the left, Bottoms on the right. Looks like outside line might prevail there off turn 2. It does. Blake Bottoms will retain the second position in what was a hard-fought battle with the 96.
Bottoms has been holding tough. He started up there, and he's been holding tough in that second position ever since the drop of the green flag to nonetheless Boyd Hogan. Boyd Hogan been the star of the season here in the Reaper Speedlab Truck Series, and he's looking to snag another win, but Bottoms is not phased by the number 96.
You have to remember, too, we were talking about Andrew Navarro, a winner previously this season at a short track, that being Martinsville. Boyd Hogan also has a short track victory to his credit. That was at Richmond.
Had that string of 3 short track races at the beginning of the season: Richmond, Martinsville, and Bristol.
Oh, Braxton Dewis sliding after maybe contact with Dylan Canova. He saves it. We stay under green. Another big slide for another driver.
A phenomenal save from the number 8 of Dewis, and he'll be able to continue his race, but he lost some positions. He's fallen back to the 9th spot, and he has Jeanette right on his bumper at this point.
Got a battle for 4th starting to close up. Casey Tucker looking back to Agnew Phillip. I don't think that battle for second's going away either. Boyd Hogan continues to run just a little bit lower, about a half groove lower through the corners than Blake Bottoms, and he's been keeping in touch with the 00, maybe chipping away just a little bit for that spot. I think we may have the runner-up position battle take place here in a couple more laps once again.
I've been watching Hogan and Bottoms throughout this race, and I think Hogan's the faster driver, has the faster truck. But I mentioned it earlier how hard it is to pass, especially on the inside, and Bottoms is just running that top line whenever Hogan's underneath them just perfectly in the 00 machine. Like I said, he's unfazed by that number 96 at the moment.
It's on the 8 of Braxton Dewis. Pick up one of the spots he lost, getting around Matt Knight. Next car that he would catch up to would be the 47 of Dylan Canova. So you have to wonder if there'll be any follow-up from the previous contact. It was hard to tell from the camera angle when we saw the 8 go into his slide. Might have been a little gap whack that came into play. Very difficult to tell when it's close quarter racing at a short track like IRP, but we'll keep tabs on that. Matt Knight actually losing some spots now. Not only got bypassed by Braxton Dewis, but Wesley Jeanette just made his way on by, and Jonathan Delaney just completed a pass around Agno Phillips and moved the 6 up into the top 5.
Jonathan Delaney, he's on the move, the number 6 machine. We've seen him in a couple races this season, really put on a show, a very fast race car driver, especially on the longer runs. So I'll have to see what that 6 machine is able to do throughout the rest of the evening.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Delaney's best finish this season was a 4th place run, and that was about a month ago at Pocono Raceway. Right now he runs in the 5th position, looking to get a couple more spots higher for, yet again, his best finish of his Reaper Speedlab Truck Series career. Now, we ended up having the caution come out for the stage. We also had a caution come out for cause just immediately afterwards. We know that at this point in time, I believe there are 2 more sets of tires waiting for these guys down on pit road. Do they utilize both of those sets, or do we maybe see these drivers one-stopping it from the previous caution to the checkered flag and saving that final set in case we get ourselves a late race caution and a late race restart?
I feel like that would be the best move. I feel like it'd be a lot different if it was a full field, like 42 cars, 30 cars, or anything like that. I feel like you could really have a split strategy, but with the amount of cars that are in the field, I feel like the best strategy is that, Seth. Try to go as far as you can on this set of tires. Take that next set of tires and leave that last set of tires just in case we get a caution at the end of this race or something along those lines, because whatever drivers save that set of tires and there's a late race caution, they're going to fly past everybody. There's only so many cars in the field.
Christopher Hill is still sitting on pit road. Chuck Waldrop, who I thought originally had gone back to the garage, he's actually back out there again, continuing to log laps. This might be a case of trying to see if he can pick up enough laps to bypass Christopher Hill and move his way from 13th up to 12th. He's got to complete 5 more circuits, and he will do just that. I've also noticed that Blake Bottoms, he's been able to shake Boyd Hogan, and he's actually putting together lap times that are closing up the gap between himself and Andrew Navarro for the race lead.
Yeah, I've been watching these lap times over here for the front 3, and for the most part, they're very close in lap times, usually within a 10th of each other. And just some of these drivers are, especially Boyd Hogan. I've been noticing Boyd Hogan's been going in and out of his rhythm. He's able to catch up a little bit on bottoms, then he loses a little bit of time. He's kind of taking 1 step forward, 2 steps back at the moment, just maybe pushing that 96 a little too hard at the moment.
Riding on board here at the front of Blake Bottoms. And I love this camera angle just based on the fact that when you watch drivers make their way around a racetrack, it looks like the track is smooth. It looks like they're not having to really deal with any issues of bumps. But then when you get right down on the track surface like this, you realize that these guys are getting jostled around, and that's why we see a lot of times, I think, as well, drivers have their issues going into the corner because not only the driver, but the truck's getting unsettled with all these bumps and cracks and patches. Caution's out.
Caution is out on the speedway. Once again, I'm not sure.
Is it Waldrop? 7 slow on the apron there. I didn't see any other driver slow on my telemetry, so we'll see if it was the lap machine. Oh, yeah. Yep, went around off of 4 and onto the front straightaway.
You just really hate to see that. Some green flag racing here, and Waldrop goes around all by himself on the front straightaway. I mean,
pretty hard shot there with the left front into the inside wall. Unfortunately for him, when his truck came to a stop, he was facing 90 degrees the wrong way up towards the racetrack, and I believe the race leaders were starting to close in, so Unfortunately, with the oncoming traffic, race officials no choice but to throw the caution to allow him to be able to get back up into the racing groove and not take the leaders out in the process. Here's the onboard with walled rip. You see right there, he knew he was in trouble, had the wheel yanked all the way to the right, but just couldn't get the rear tires to take and loops it around the front straightaway. And to your point too, unfortunately for these guys, we didn't get to see who had like the really better truck on the long run. Longest run we've had so far has been 29 laps under green, and that was the initial start of this race. And it was looking like Blake Bottoms was closing in on Andrew Navarro. Would have been interesting to see if he could indeed have closed the gap up completely and made a pass before these drivers had to think about pit stops. But now they all came down pit road, so one set left for the end of this race.
I don't know how I necessarily feel about that. These drivers only have one set of tires. I mean, they're maybe thinking that this race should probably go green the remainder of the way, and I feel like a lot of these drivers are really scared to really go on that different strategy because they know if that strategy doesn't work out, they're most likely going to finish in last place out of all these drivers. So they have to really hope on that caution. I just think a lot of these drivers are thinking that caution's not going to come out, while some of these other drivers are a little scared to get off sequence.
We don't know exactly what the fuel window is for these drivers, but if you're going to split the remainder of this race in half, you're probably going to go, I think it's going to be about 55-55. We'll be in the vicinity of 110, a little bit less than that when we eventually get back under green flag conditions. Also noticed two drivers are going to be a lap down here on this upcoming restart. The 73 of Robert Shin and the 94 of Agno Phillips. So I'm not certain what happened to them between that caution coming out and now, but both of those drivers currently -1, and they'll be maybe one of the few drivers in the field that'll be looking to see another caution come out because they'd be battling for a free pass position.
And they're really going to be hoping on a caution flag, but the pace truck pulls down pit road here after caution number 3 of the day, and Navarro with another early restart in number 42, but second and third of Hogan and Bottoms expected a little.
See Delaney there trying to get on the power, and his truck nearly went around off of turn 4. As that battle for second. This has been fun to watch on the restarts there, the battle between Bottoms and Hogan. This is about the 3rd or 4th time we've seen them side by side for almost 2-3 laps. The 00 every time has gotten the advantage on the top side. Looks like it's, well, I was going to say he was going to clear there, but Hogan going to battle back once more. Pushes up, has to lift. Bottoms almost gets the outside wall. They're still going to say side by side down the back.
They've been going back and forth on these restarts. Hogan's been so close to make this pass. He just can't quite complete the pass on the 00 here of Bottoms. Like I said earlier, I think he's a little quicker than Bottoms. He just cannot complete the pass. And you see it here. He's going to have to fall right back behind the 00 of Bottoms coming off of 2. He's going to send it into 3 a little bit, trying to get to his quarter panel. Bottoms felt the pressure and he slid up a little bit.
And they almost made contact there, maybe off of turn 4, as now it's going to be Bottoms clear for the spot once again. Hogan looks like this time he's going to tuck in line, will not offer a challenge. We've got a car on pit road. That's the 74 of Wesley Jeanette. This, I believe, is an unscheduled stop for the 74 machine. He's going to fall a lap down. I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, Agno Phillip, he lost his lap with an extended stay on pit road to repair damage that we saw him get when he went up into the outside wall in the previous restart.
Yeah, Phillips really going to be hoping on a caution. Same thing with Robert Shin. And if the caution would come out right now, Robert Shin would get the lucky dog and not Agno Phillip.
8 trucks on the lead lap right now. Matt Knight is the last of those. Good battle here. Casey Tucker in the 82, Dylan Canova in the 47, and Jonathan Delaney in the 6th. That is 4th, 5th, and 6th position. As, oh man, that battle for second, that's going to get wadded up a bit there with Wesley Jeanette returning back to the racetrack in their vicinity.
That almost got real bad real quick, and Tucker almost getting into Jeanette himself. Jeanette on the inside lane, a lot slower than the leaders, and Tucker is going to get him in the bumper as Jeanette comes up and and cuts him off the corner.
Yeah, I don't think the driver's going to be all that thrilled. Race leaders having to battle a truck that is 3 laps down right now, and Jeanette made a little bit of contact there a couple of times with Casey Tucker, still continuing to battle there. I don't rightly understand this because he's not battling for position, and you've got these 3-4 drivers that are battling for spots potentially up in the latter half of the top 5.
And there's
Robert Shin, I believe. Yep, he's gone around. Ooh, man, that truck's taking a hard hit to the right side as it's come to rest down on the access road, leaving pit lane into turn 1.
I think Agnell Phillip will be the lucky dog at this point. Shin was in the lucky dog position and he spun around, so this should give Phillip the lucky dog unless he made contact with the 73.
Yeah, this is the battle for the free pass position right here. Going into turn 1. Oh, looks like some gap whack. Man, look how the safer barrier grabbed the front end of Robert Shin's truck and kind of spat him back out towards the inside of turn 1.
I've had that happen before. That's the worst because it looks like it blew up his motor too, and I've had that happen. I've had that happen at Bristol. It just sent me across the track, and my motor is just gone. Just gone. It looks like that's what's happened to Robert Shin because he got towed back to the pits.
Here's another look. Oh, yeah, you could definitely see from that camera shot there was space in between the 94 and the 73. Gap whack rearing its ugly head here and potentially ending the night for Robert Shin. The battle for the free pass position gone wrong. So I'm pretty certain, and it looks like it is indeed the case, that Agnell Phillip will get the free pass. He will be on the lead lap. We'll have 9 drivers on the lead lap once we go back green. No surprise. Too early for drivers to come down pit road and take on that final set of tires, and you know the drivers up at the front are certainly not going to give up the track position to come down and get fuel.
Yeah, these drivers decided to stay out. Not a big surprise. Only a couple laps on the tires, first of all. And then, yeah, like you said, on the fuel. They're not going to risk giving up that track position just to get a little more fuel because it's just so hard to get that track position here. We've been watching the battle with Bottoms and Hogan all race long. You've seen it right there. Hogan may have a little more speed, but it's just so hard to complete that pass unless you want to get into the door of your competitor.
Well, it's been a clinic here tonight so far by Andrew Navarro. He's led every lap but one. That one lap was led by Robert Shin back during our stage yellow. Nobody has really been able to even get to Andrew Navarro's back bumper to challenge him either. We were seeing potentially Blake Bottoms on that long run prior to our third caution coming out maybe start to reel in, but I don't think there's been any less than 3 truck lengths between Andrew Navarro and the rest of the field once everything gets settled out.
Yeah, and that's mainly been because of his restarts there, Seth. Andrew Navarro has been putting on some clinical restarts, or usually restarting in the middle of 3 and 4, and the drivers just aren't ready. And if they are ready, they're not usually going to full throttle it at that point in the corner because they're risking really spinning out their race trucks. But Andrew Navarro, he's able to time it whatever way he wants to because he is the race leader. So he's had a huge advantage on these restarts. But let's see if these drivers are more prepared for this restart here.
As soon as that pace truck dives onto pit lane, race leader can accelerate at any point he wants. And right there around that Lucas Oil sign, up between 3 and 4, seems to be where Andrew Navarro likes to go best. And it's going to work out for him yet again. And yep, another restart, another battle for that second spot between Hogan and Bottoms.
Bottoms with one of his best restarts yet, almost able to clear Hogan off 2 there. Hogan still fighting tough on the inside. He has his teammate of Tucker on the high side as well, and Bottoms looks like he'll clear him off of 4.
Yeah, that was interesting. Casey Tucker noticing that the 00 has been winning the exchanges between himself and the 96, and he for a moment stuck his nose up there on the right side of 96 of Boyd Hogan, thinking maybe he could snooker the 3rd spot. Had to tuck back in line though, and now he'll be on the back bumper of Hogan. He's got Delaney behind him, Canova behind Delaney. It's a stack up from 2nd place back to 7th.
I feel at this point, Hogan and the 00 of Bottoms kind of need to work together at least for a little bit here and don't let Navarro get out of their sights. because that's the reason Navarro's been pulling away also on these restarts. Because once Navarro gets that great restart, Bottoms and Hogan are left to battle for at least 3 or 4 laps. So if these drivers can work together at least a little bit here just to try to get to Navarro, I feel like that would be the best strategy.
Very impressive debuts here tonight by a few drivers. Bottoms has been up in the podium all night long, pretty much been locking down that second position. And Dylan Canova with a good showing this evening in that 47, still on the lead lap, mixing it up with Delaney and Braxton Dewis last time by, scored in the 6th position.
Yeah, Canova seems like he's been learning throughout the race. Wasn't too quick at the beginning of this race, but it seems like he's just found speed throughout this event and is slowly moving his way up to that 6th spot, been knocking on the door of the top 5 for a little bit now.
99 of Christopher Hill. He's returned back onto the racetrack, just bypassed Braxton Dewis. Hill is 32 laps down right now. There's actually a battle going on the racetrack that one might not be paying very much attention to, but it's the battle for 12th place. Christopher Hill, Chuck Waldrop both scored 32 laps down. So right now they're battling to see who's going to be, at this point in time, scored last in the finishing results.
Greatest battle of all time. It's like the battle for the first overall pick in the NFL draft right here. Waldrop versus Hill. Right now, Waldrop 5 seconds back of Hill. Have to see if he's able to make that gap up, but Hill seems to have a lot more speed at the moment.
We also saw Robert Shin take that hard hit nose first into turn 1. He sits on pit road, more than likely done for the night, so there is a possibility here in the next 19 laps, I believe it is, that both Christopher Hill and Chuck Waldrop, they could move up a spot, Hill to 11th and Waldrop to 12th, dropping Robert Shin down to 13th here this evening.
I mean, the way Hill's driving right now, I think he's trying to go to 31 laps down because he's on the move. He's right there on Canova. He's putting pressure on Canova, and he's in the wall. Canova's in the wall in 1 and 2.
Might be some rainbow paint over there on the bottom of the white safer barrier in 1 and 2 off the side skirt of the 47, but he keeps it going. Now Hill closing up on the 6 of Jonathan Delaney, and you're right, if you look at the lap times right now, the race leaders are running 22.5s. Hill just ran a 22.481 the last time by, so again, not certain what it was that had Hill on pit road for so long. We went back, tried to look for a replay to see if he was involved in any incident, didn't see anything like that. Imagine if he was on the lead lap right now, we'd be saying he's taking the 5th position.
Hill has a lot of speed, but that's no big surprise. Unfortunately, was on pit road for as long as he was, and the only thing I could really think of on why he was on pit road that long and he still has this much speed, I had the same sort of thing happen to myself at Richmond the other night. I had a broken axle. The driver just hit me right in the axle, and my car was doing that little crab walk down pit lane, and it took almost 10 minutes to repair. But when I came back on the racetrack, I still had as much speed as I did earlier in the event.
Phillip had a lot of speed in the early going, got trapped a lap down, got the free pass under the last caution, and now trying to make his way back up towards the front. He just completed the pass on the 33 of Matt Knights and moved him to 8th. Remember, for Agno Phillip, when you're the lucky dog, you not only start behind the lead lap cars, but all the lap machines as well. You're at the very tail end of the field, so there's a lot more trucks to pass than just the 8 drivers that were on the lead lap with him once the green flag came out for that last restart. Another thing that I was actually looking at here real quickly too was the fact that it's looking like Boyd Hogan and Blake Bottoms, it's polar opposite from what we saw in the last restart. Bottoms was pulling away from Hogan on the long run. Now Hogan's been able to kind of close up the gap between himself and the 00. Now I know that it's difficult to pass at a track like this, we've already documented it, but it certainly seems like the laps that Boyd Hogan has logged behind that 00 has helped him in terms of maybe trying to preserve his tires for the long run. This is about the closest gap we've had between those two on a long green flag run since the start of this race.
You also keep in mind, Seth, they're approaching this a little differently because they know they only have the one set of tires left, so they have to really preserve those tires as long as possible here. And that's what I think we're seeing. These drivers are just trying to keep those tires on them as long as possible until they have to put on that last set.
We are now more than halfway through tonight's event. 80 laps to go as Andrew Navarro looks to begin the playoffs as a 3-time winner here in the Reaper Speedlab Truck Series. And of course, these drivers, they'll be off next week. The playoffs will begin on August 31st. And we talked about here at the start of the program, what a track to end off the regular season at Lucas Oil Raceway Park. But when you consider in 2 weeks that we're beginning the playoffs at the Lady in Black, the track too tough to tame Darlington, I mean, these drivers, they're kind of thrown into the lion's den right out of the gate.
They really are, Seth. Those first 3 races are going to be very insane. Those first 3 weeks, you have Darlington, of course, the Lady in Black you mentioned. Then you have Kansas Speedway, not too difficult of a racetrack, but a multi-groove racetrack where we see a lot of drivers try to preserve their tires, and then a lot of drivers try to push it hard at the beginning of the run. And then probably the most interesting race in the playoffs, Bristol Dirt. That's the race I'm probably looking forward to the most.
It's going to be the second and final dirt track stop on the season. These drivers, of course, earlier on this year were at Knoxville, where Boyd Hogan took the checkered flag. Yeah, I mean, talk about a wild card race there for an elimination race at Bristol Dirt. And I'll bet that there's a number of drivers, once the playoffs begin, once the playoff grid is put together, they're going to have that track circled on their calendar, but maybe more so for the reason they'll probably have written underneath survive, because I think there's going to be a lot of unknowns when we eventually get to that one.
There really is, Seth. There's going to be a lot of unknowns indeed there at Bristol Dirt, and drivers are really going to have to figure it out as they go.
You have to remember, too, that for Boyd Hogan, he's going to, it may be too early to say, but I think it's pretty safe to say, he's going to be in the Final Four. He's going to be in the championship battle. A big reason for that is, let's not forget, he's racked up 40 playoff points on wins and stage victories here this season. And those playoff points, as we know, carry through the entirety of the playoffs. So to have racked up that many playoff points is almost a golden ticket into that championship battle.
And Boyd Hogan, I mentioned earlier, has kind of been the star of the season here of the Reaper Speedlab Truck Series, and he's really looking to compete for the championship at Nashville Super Speedway in November. We'll have to see how he's able to do in the playoffs, but if he continues doing what he's doing, and that's at least getting top 5s, top 3s, usually competing for victories, it shouldn't be an issue, especially with all those playoff points.
He has 40-18 for Christopher Hill. You get 5 points for a win, 1 point for a stage victory in terms of playoff points earned. So if Andrew Navarro closes out the deal here tonight, he would net 6 playoff points, bringing his total to start off the postseason to 18 as well.
Christopher Hill is still moving all those laps down. He's now approaching his teammate Boyd Hogan. He has one of the fastest, if not the fastest car on the racetrack right now. Navarro's really gapped second place bottoms as well. He's 2 seconds out in front of at this point in the race.
That's the biggest gap we've had so far, from first to second. Just had a couple of passes take place on that lap. Christopher Hill and Chuck Waldrop able to log enough laps to bypass Robert Shin for 11th and 12th respectively, albeit still 32 laps down. Wesley Jeanette, he is 3 laps down right now. He would be in the free pass position should we see any cautions from now till the end of this race. That means we've got 9 drivers right now on the lead lap, and I'm not certain if Boyd Hogan, if he's paying more attention to Hill in his rearview mirror or if he's still got his eyes out the windshield, but I've seen that truck step out a couple of times here in the last few laps.
I think he's really seeing Hill approaching in his rearview mirror, and he wants to get in front of bottoms before Hill passes him. But honestly, what I was thinking here with Hill approaching him, I feel like he should maybe even let Hill pass and kind of just follow Hill right on through, right past bottoms. That might be his best opportunity to get past bottoms.
Got R22, Christopher Hill out there right now just logging laps. What kind of information could he possibly be passing on through channels to his teammate out of Legacy Esports, Boyd Hogan, on how to approach these corners and in turn how to approach trying to get by Blake Bottoms for the second spot? I mean, we saw a couple of times there once the 99 got up to him. Boyd Hogan drove it pretty deep into the corner. He does it here again in turns 3 and 4. Gets close to the left rear quarter panel. Just can't quite seem to be able to get the power down to translate that straightaway speed off of 4.
Hogan's right there. He's really trying to at least get to the back bumper of Bottoms, but just can't quite get him. Almost gets the wall, it looked like, off of 2, and he's once again sending it in 3 and 4 from way far back.
Gonna maybe be able to get alongside here in a couple of laps, because every time he drives it deep into 3, he gets just a few inches closer to the left rear quarter panel. I mean, if you're gonna complete a pass here, how far alongside do you have to be? Do you have to be completely alongside, or would just half a truck length do?
It really just depends on how you approach the corner. The way Hogan's approaching the corner right now, if he's maybe halfway up Bottom's door, maybe 3/4 up Bottom's door, he might be able to clear him in the corner the way he has so much grip going into some of these corners at the moment.
Riding on board here with Boyd Hogan. Watch the bottom left of your screen. Watch the hand motion going into the corners. These drivers have now been out there for 50 laps on these tires. Look at that back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And really turning the truck hard right off of turn number 2, making sure that that back end does not step out on him. I'm seeing a lot more turning right than I am seeing turning left here in these laps with Hogan. There you see really loose again off of turn 4.
Hogan's really fighting that race truck at the moment, driver the number 96, and he's losing a little bit of time to Bottoms at the moment. Was really trying to get past him there for a couple of laps, and maybe he's now falling off a little bit. Maybe he hurt his tires a little bit in that sequence.
These drivers were planning on splitting this final run in half. We'd be looking at them coming to pit road more than likely within the next 5 to 10 laps. We're going to keep it here on the battle for second. It's the closest battle on the racetrack right now between Blake Bottoms and Boyd Hogan. Potential green flag pit stops looming very soon. We're going to step aside for a quick commercial break. You're not going to miss a thing. We're taking you FRN side by side.
Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and team. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you can only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine. Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and team. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you could only get in an Indy car. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine.
Welcome you back here to the Indianapolis Raceway Park. Season finale for the regular season on the eve of the playoffs as Andrew Navarro continues his dominating pace. You saw it during the commercial break. Boyd Hogan diving onto pit lane, and Kyle, he's still sitting there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened with Boyd Hogan. He pulled down pit lane. It looked like for a regularly timed pit stop. It looked like we were in that window to make that final pit stop, and came down pit road and changed 4 tires, filled it up with fuel, and he still sits on pit lane in that number 96 machine. Very curious case. He's been on pit road for now 3 minutes. He's 8 laps down.
Boyd Hogan, who was running in the top 3 the entirety of the night. Now he exits out of the battle for the victory this evening. You saw just moments ago the 47 of Dylan Canova hit pit lane. Like that was a regularly scheduled stop for him. Well, I say that, and yet he still sits in his pit stall. May have gotten hit with a speeding penalty. We'll follow up on that, see if he returns to the racetrack. But if he ends up sitting in his pit stall, then that's, what, 3 drivers that will have come down pit lane looking like they had no damage and be coming off of pit road multiple laps down.
A very curious case here indeed. Nova still sits on pit lane. Boyd Hogan still on pit lane as well in the 96, and the other driver, of course, being Christopher Hill, who sat on pit road with looked to be no damage for around 30 laps earlier in the race. So we'll have to see what happens there as Canova's still on pit road as well, and when do we see these other drivers make their final pit stops?
So when all this happened, Navarro still the leader, Bottom's still in second. Casey Tucker has now moved up to third. Jonathan Delaney is 4th, and Braxton Dewis currently now is in the 5th position. And a good comeback run here for Agnell Phillip, who ended up having to rely on a caution to come out, get him a lucky dog, get back in the lead lap. He's fought his way back up now to the 6th position, and based off the lap times, he might be getting ready to challenge, well, I was going to say challenge Jonathan Delaney, but apparently that won't be the case because Delaney is on pit road.
And Jonathan Delaney pulls down pit road to make his final pit stop. He was a little over 12 seconds behind race leader Andrew Navarro. We'll have to see how much he's able to make up in these laps that he has the fresher tires. Right now, these drivers are putting laps down that were a little over a second slower than their quickest lap times.
Let's see the right side damage there on Jonathan Delaney. So he's at some point gotten up into that outside safer barrier. Dylan Canova still does sit on pit road in the 47, so a driver that was looking really good here tonight in his debut was up as high as 6th. He right now is trapped 8 laps down. Wesley Jeanette's been able to take advantage of all this. He may be trapped 4 laps down right now, but in the last 10 to 15 laps, he's moved his way from 10th now up to the 8th position. And now Delaney looks like it's an extended stay.
Yeah, I was sitting here watching. I'm about to say something. It's the curious case of the Lucas Oil Raceway pit road. This is very peculiar and interesting stuff going on here on pit road here, Seth. It's the pit road of death at the moment, it looks like.
Really strange. I mean, I'm wondering
There
if
he
I'm the
goes.
race leader, if I want to come down pit road.
Delaney finally pulls off of pit road, but after sitting on pit road for a minute and a half, it looked like he might have just got some damage repair on the number 6 machine, as that right side is cleaned up a little bit.
It's going to cost him 4 laps as a result. Very unlikely that he would get all 4 of those laps back once the 42 comes to pit road. He is going to, looks like, cycle out to 7th, just ahead of Wesley Jeanette. They're on the same lap number, but there is about almost a 60 lap tire difference between those two, advantage to the 6 of Delaney. So now there's only 6 drivers on the lead lap. Actually, correction, only 5 drivers on the lead lap. Matt Knight had been put a lap down under green flag conditions. So it's Navarro, Bottoms, Tucker, Dewis, and Phillip. And if it was just the case of staying a little bit longer to get the damage repaired for Jonathan Delaney, then this will not necessarily be a factor. But if there's something going on with pit road, as long as you're on the lead lap right now, I would say that you've got a shot of winning this race, because there's no telling that Andrew Navarro might not succumb to whatever the issues might have been, if they were pit road related, to drivers like the 96, the 99, the 47.
Yeah, it's very curious because the 96 and the 47 still sit in their stalls, and they just don't look like they have really any damage at all. Very slight damage on both the race cars, and when they pulled down pit road, they had no issue. So very curious on why they're still stuck in their pit stalls.
Well, Andrew Navarro, so far tonight, he has not put a wheel wrong. He has led all but 1 of the laps this evening. He's got the stage victory here tonight. He's looking to close it out with the race victory. And I mean, is this a driver that obviously we're going to have to keep tabs on here during the course of the playoffs? I mean, you could probably start to formulate some of the potential championship contenders. I would certainly obviously put Boyd Hogan in that mix, 7-time winner. I think Christopher Hill certainly gets a nod in that direction. And I think Andrew Navarro, 2-time winner and strong performance here tonight going into the playoffs. He would certainly be in the conversation.
Yeah, as long as Andrew Navarro is present, he's been very competitive. I mentioned this earlier, but Andrew Navarro has only been participated in around half the races this season, but any race that he's been in, he's just been competing for the win or winning the race, as he's possibly doing here tonight at Indianapolis Raceway Park. But another driver to add to that list is Braxton Dewis. He's definitely a driver to watch out for. He's improved on speed, and he's been very consistent throughout the season. Right now, he's currently running in that 4th spot. Another decent night from the number 8 machine.
I've had it occur on my telemetry. I'm going to get confirmation on your side. It looks like Jonathan Delaney, he may be done for the night.
Yeah, it looked like he maybe just closed his game. Jonathan Delaney, it looks like he might have exited the event here early, unfortunately, the driver of the number 6. And at this point in the race, I think he's going to be finishing in that 8th spot unless Canova or Hogan gets out of pit road soon.
Yeah, really, I think might be enough laps for Christopher Hill to maybe get a spot from him. Maybe the same for Chuck Waldrop, but it's going to be close. It's battle for 2nd place. It's starting to heat up. About maybe 3-4 truck lengths down the back straightaway separate Blake Bottoms from Casey Tucker. I mean, Casey Tucker, the first half of this race, he was running 5th, 6th position. All the circumstances that have taken place in the last 30 to 40 laps have got him up in the 3rd spot, and he may be leaving IRP tonight, maybe in the runner-up position. But then again, we've seen it all evening. Catching a truck is one thing, but passing them is a completely different thing.
Yeah, Tucker's been very quiet throughout the night, been running in the top 5, top 6 all race long, but now he's up here in the 3rd position after the issue with Boyd Hogan, and he's had a lot of speed in the second half of this run. He's caught up to Bottoms, and both Tucker and Bottoms are running quicker lap times than Navarro at the moment. The only problem is Navarro is 9 seconds in front of these two.
Gap officially right now 0.4 of a second between Blake Bottoms and Casey Tucker. Of course, Blake, as we've documented, making his series debut here tonight at Lucas Oil. Casey Tucker, his best finish so far this season, that came back at Dover International when he brought it home P3 behind Kyle Myers and Christopher Hill. So right now, en route to tying his best finish here in the Reaper Speedlab Truck Series. He looks to finish one position better, and with less than 30 to go, as you mentioned, the gap up there to the race leader, this may be the best battle here in the final stages of this race.
I'm curious on what these drivers are thinking when it comes to fuel and tires at this point, because these drivers have been on this set of tires for 90 laps, and you just mentioned it, Seth. There's under 30 laps to go. Do these drivers potentially think they could maybe make it to the finish here?
I'm trying to remember back what track it was. I want to say it was Richmond. I remembered that there was a race that went on there, and there was a driver that was able to stretch it 120 laps at that racetrack. And we kept thinking, he's got to come to pit road. He's got to come to pit road. There's no way he's going to make it. There is every possibility maybe that when these guys took the green flag on that last restart, they had enough fuel in the tank to be able to make it the rest of the way, and they figured, you know what, we'll see what the tires feel like when we get to the end of the race. If they feel good enough, we're not going to come to pit road again.
And one thing that has me really curious when it comes to that, if these drivers had to save a little bit of gas to potentially make it to the finish of this race, I'm not saying they had to or not, but if they had to save some gas, wouldn't you think Navarro has maybe used up a good amount more gas than Bottoms and Tucker, as he's 10 seconds out in front and hasn't really slowed down his pace at all throughout the run?
Yeah, I would agree with that, especially when you look at the lap times even now. Andrew Navarro running anywhere from half a tenth to almost a full tenth sometimes than these other two drivers. So yeah, he's got over 9 seconds to work with. If he is close on the fuel numbers, I would certainly think it would be in his best interest. Back it off just a little bit. Try to save some. Give yourself a little bit of insurance. Of course, right now, I think the thing he's most worried about is coming around out of turn 4, looking up at the flag stand and seeing the white or the yellow flag waving, because the last thing he needs is to have Blake Bottoms, Casey Tucker back on his bumper with an opportunity of maybe trying to make a move for the race win after the dominating performance he's had so far tonight.
Honestly, the driver I would watch on a restart if we got a caution is that 5th place driver, Agnew Phillip. Agnew Phillip had a lot of speed early and got put a lap down for damage repair, and he's back on the lead lap, but kind of got stuck back there, just unable to make passes, and he's in that 5th position on the lead lap.
We're going to still keep our camera here on the 2nd place battle, but I am keeping tabs on the 4th place battle as well. Agnew Phillip is starting to maybe reel in Braxton Dewis for that position, so we'll see if that gets any closer. Right now it's about a 2nd separation between those two. It's been that way for about the last 10 laps. The lap times have somewhat evened out between those two. Agnew was closing in about a 10th a lap, but I'm wondering if he maybe used up so much of his tire to get up there. Now he's really struggling to find that grip.
Drivers looking for grip all over the racetrack on these extremely old tires, and these tires are super old, so you have to really be curious if some of these drivers might lose a tire. Just yesterday I was in a C-Fix race at Kentucky, and with 3 laps to go, my crew chief came over the radio saying that my right front tire is wearing out, and that's pretty much a warning saying in a few laps you're probably going to lose that right front tire. So I'm curious if any of these other drivers might have worn out that right front or even right rear to that type of severity at the end of the race.
Here's the onboard with Casey Tucker. He is all over the back bumper of Blake Bottoms. Haven't seen him show a nose to the inside yet. Certainly Blake's not going to give up the top. So if you're the 82, what's the strategy right now? Do you maybe put the bumper to him, try to get him a little bit loose? Do you maybe just kind of stay in his rearview mirror, take his attention away from what's out the windshield, and maybe force him to make a mistake to capitalize? Oh, he's going to get close to the left rear there, coming through 3 and 4.
I feel like there's really 3 options that you have at this point in the run. Option 1, he can kind of just bump him out of the way of classic bump and run as he looks like he's in there right there. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh. He lets him.
Well, Bottoms, he was out of shape going into turn 1. That thing was all sorts of sideways.
Well, that answers my question, but the other two options I was going to get to the end of the race, really the other two options is just hope that he makes a mistake, or you can act like you're going to bump him and just kind of intimidate him a little bit and he'll make the mistake on his own. But you saw it right there from Casey Tucker. He chose option number 1 and gave Bottoms a little bump, and Bottoms got real loose out of the corner and kind of gave up the spot to Tucker.
It certainly looked like Tucker had a lot more grip to be able to work with there as he reeled in Bottoms for second place. So we'll see if Bottoms can stay in touch and get back up there to the 82, but I think we're going to start to see that gap open up. You can even see it right there down the back straightaway. It was 2 truck lengths. It's now 2.5. Closes up on entry, but that 82 looks like he's really able to get back to the throttle on corner exit. Got a little loose there off of 4 in trying to do so. Certainly, I don't think without the aid of a caution, he's going to be able to close up the now almost 11 seconds up to Andrew Navarro, but got to feel good in the fact that he was able to pretty cleanly make that pass for the runner-up spot here tonight.
Yeah, Tucker's had a clean race and has been very quiet all race long, and he's moved up to the second position late, and now at this point he's really hoping on a late race caution, because if a late race caution, anything could happen, because there's no way he's catching Navarro unless Navarro self-spins, hits the wall, or something crazy, because Navarro has a huge lead at this point. I mentioned a couple of laps ago he had a 9-second advantage. Well, now he has a 12-second advantage. He's just putting down steamers every lap in that 42 machine.
Just got around Matt Knight a few laps ago, putting the 33 2 laps down. Matt Knight, even though he's going to be -2, right now scheduled to finish in the 6th position, as Jonathan Delaney, as we documented, he is, it looks like, going to finish in 9th tonight. Chuck Waldrop should have enough laps to be able to get the 8th spot. Christopher Hill, he's now gone officially back to the garage area. He'll be scored 10th. Dylan Canova out of the race as well. He's going to be 11th and still sitting on pit road. Boyd Hogan, Robert Shin, they're going to get scored 12th and 13th in our regular season finale. Again, you'll want to tune in 2 weeks' time when we begin the playoffs at Darlington, because we've got an idea of at least 4 or 5 drivers that will be battling for the playoffs, but we're not 100% certain just officially how many drivers will be contending for the playoffs. Will drivers that are below the cut line, that have been here a majority of the races in the second half of the season, will they be moved up into the playoff grid? Will only the drivers that were above the cutoff line that were locked in tonight, will they be the only ones battling for the championship? There's a lot of questions that are going to be answered in 2 weeks' time, so be sure to join us when the playoffs begin at the Lady in Black, August 31st. Andrew Navarro, for certain, is, we know, going to be one of the drivers that will be advancing into the playoffs, and he's going to have a lot of momentum on his side after this dominating performance here tonight.
The race not quite over yet, but even if the race ended right now and he spun out and didn't win, it still would be a phenomenal performance from that 42 machine. He's led every lap but one so far. He started on the pole and he's been dominant since the drop of the green flag. But one interesting thing, there is 2 lap cars around a second in front of Navarro, and it's Agnel Phillip and Braxton Dewis. Phillip has finally caught up to Dewis. He's only around a truck length and a half back of the number 8 machine. Do these two maybe battle and get in the way of Navarro?
I have to wait and see here, as obviously they want to finish this race on the lead lap, but at the same time they also want to finish in the 4th position. We'll see here with 4.5 laps to go now if indeed they will play a factor into Andrew Navarro taking this thing. Yeah, this may be the only thing right now that I think could be a hindrance to Andrew Navarro and his chances of winning. Honestly, I feel that even if a caution comes out, we documented how good Andrew Navarro's restarts have been, his ability to gap whoever was in second place. I think even if we get ourselves a late race caution, with him being the control car, he'd get himself another decent restart and still be able to keep everybody in his rearview mirror. So right now, I think this is the only thing that would make him nervous at this point in time, the battle between 4th and 5th going on right out in front of his windshield.
These drivers also haven't had that much tire fall off. They're only a little over a second off their quickest lap times. I wouldn't put it past any of these drivers for a 2-lap shootout to take right sides only, but that's if we were to get a caution. And right now we are still green with 2 laps remaining here in IRP, and Philip and Dewis are battling. My best advice for Navarro is not even try to put his nose in that.
Well, he's going to. He's going to show the nose to the inside of Agnell Phillip, try and put him a lap down as he's going to come around and see the white flag. He will back off, let the 94 tuck back in line in front of him. That might have just helped Braxton Dewis solidify the 4th position, but Phillip back to the throttle through the center of the corner. He's going to close it back up on the back straightaway, gets the wall. Navarro might have gotten the wall there as well, coming around to take the checkers.
Navarro might have even gotten a little bit in 3 and 4, but he'll be okay as the checkered flag is in the air, and Andrew Navarro gets the victory here at Lucas Oil Raceway. Philip has another lap to catch up here to the number 8. Does he still have a shot at Dewis? He's very tight off the corner, and Dewis looks like he's going to get away for the 4th position.
Big time lift off of turn 2 for Agnell Phillip. Dewis is indeed going to hang on to 4th. Phillip will cross the line in 5th. Good comeback run after being a lap down earlier on in this race, but Andrew Navarro, he is going to be advancing into the playoffs as a 3-time winner, and it is his 2nd victory on the season at a short track.
Great performance from Andrew Navarro, able to snag another victory on the season for the 42 machine, and he heads into the playoffs with a bunch of momentum, led 173 out of the 174 laps here tonight, started on pole. Just a dominating performance from him in this race team. Very impressive heading into to Darlington in 2 weeks' time.
As the fireworks go off there on the back straightaway, just off of the entrance of turn number 3, here's a look at your finishing results from tonight's regular season finale. Navarro, again, dominating performance, led just about every lap here tonight, went coast to coast pole to victory. Casey Tucker brings it home for his best career finish in 2nd. Great debut for Blake Bottoms as he'll finish on the podium in 3rd. Braxton Dewis, a solid run to enter the playoffs for him. He'll get 4th. Agnell Phillip in 5th, and they were the only drivers to finish tonight's event on the lead lap. Matt Knight, -2 and 6th. Wesley Jeanette made a comeback run, albeit 5 laps down to 7th. Chuck Waldrop finishes in 8th after he started this race initially from pit road. Jonathan Delaney, Christopher Hill, they both finished back in the garage area, but they'll get credited for 9th and 10th. And the rest of the field tonight was Dylan Canova, Boyd Hogan, and Robert Shin. Obviously can't count Boyd Hogan out at any racetrack, but a 12th place performance here tonight. Momentum certainly not on the side of the 96 going into the postseason.
Definitely not what Hogan wanted. Was running up there battling for the 2nd position, but then came down pit road and he never left pit road the remainder of the race. So very unfortunate for Hogan, but we will definitely see him next week at Darlington, most likely competing for the win, Seth.
Absolutely. Looks like we do not have our 3rd place finisher, Blake Bottoms, available right at the moment for an interview. If we end up seeing him hop in, then we will certainly get a word with him. Like to get his thoughts in his debut here in the Speedlab Truck Series. But let's see if we can get the guy that brings it home 2nd place here tonight, the driver of the number 82, Casey Tucker. Hey, Casey, it's Kyle and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, man, I got you. How's it going?
Well, man, I'll tell you what, you must be exhausted because we were taking a lot of onboards with you guys here tonight. Saw you working the wheel, especially on the long run. But we saw a great battle there in the closing stages on old tires between you and that 00. I mean, obviously you had a couple of options on how to get around Tim. Looked like a relatively clean pass, but we know passing's not easy here. So how were you able to do that?
I'll be honest with you. He kind of just let me go. I ran him down for a while there, and I got behind him. I kind of got stuck in his air and couldn't do a whole lot there for a while. And then it kind of came to me a little bit enough that I had just enough in the truck to get up on his rear bumper and put pressure on him for a couple of laps. And he got real loose out of I believe it was turn 2, one of the laps, and I got under his left rear, and I think he knew at that point, like I was a good bit faster because it's pretty hard to do that on its own. So he pretty much just let me go for the most part. So sorry to make it a little anticlimactic, but yeah, I mean it was everything I could do to get to him though. That was I am pretty worn out. It was rough.
Well, Casey, we ended up seeing that your best finish coming into tonight was a third place performance at Dover. Obviously, a track with the heavy braking zones as well, very abrasive on the tires. One thing that we thought about here tonight when you guys took the green flag, which we now know is for the final time, was we knew you guys had at least one more set waiting for you in pit road. Thought maybe you guys might split that last run in half, but you, along with the rest of the race leaders, running 112 laps on these tires, and we also noticed that I think Kyle pointed out that the lap times they weren't all that bad from the fastest laps you guys had run. So, did you feel like a huge amount of tire wear on the long run, and or was there not that much, and that's why you guys elected not to even come to pit road for the remainder of the race?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's definitely some tire wear. It handles pretty rough there at the end of the runs. You're kind of just like ice skating around a little bit, but it's not. It doesn't lose as much lap time as it does just feel. The truck feels pretty rough at the end of the run, but the lap times the lap times hang on pretty good. So it really wasn't worth coming down and pitting because the pit delta here is so long. But yeah, I mean, it was just kind of a run it to the end. We'd already topped off on that last pit stop to make sure that we were good to go. Saved a little under the cautions and made sure we were, about a gallon or so to the good. So yeah, it was pretty no brainer as far as the last run goes. I didn't have anything for Andrew. I didn't think. I didn't know I had anything for Blake either. Honestly, on the long run we did, but short run we were missing a little bit of pace. But it's nothing we can't work around as a driver on a long run. I kind of just tried to drive around the little bit of the discrepancy in setup, and we got him at the end, so that's what matters.
Well, your best career finish here in the Reaper Speedlab Truck Series, second place here tonight under the lights at Lucas Oil Raceway. Congratulations on that. And now we'll give it the opportunity. Thank some sponsors, do some shout outs.
Yeah, man. I appreciate everybody at Legacy Esports. Boyd Hogan, Reaper Speed Labs, Green Mountain Grills, man. Everybody that helps us out over there is I can't thank them enough, and the setups are always top tier because of that. So yeah, man, and thank y'all for putting on the broadcast. It's been fun running these races when I've been able to show up for them. So I appreciate it.
That's Casey Tucker. He brings the number 82 truck home in the second position at the Indianapolis Raceway Park. Congratulations on a great run there.
Thanks, guys.
And I believe we have our race winner down in victory lane. Let's see if we can get him now, Andrew Navarro. Hey, Andrew, it's Kyle Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got a copy?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, here tonight, you did not put a wheel wrong. Dominating performance, practically led every lap here this evening. We knew that coming into tonight, you were the last driver above the cut line, but now we know that you're going to definitely be one of those contenders, more than likely for the championship. Big momentum going into the postseason. You rack up some more playoff points here this evening as well. Let's talk about the race, though, first, because it looked like, based off of how good your restarts were, how much of a gap you were able to put back to second place, like that truck was firing on all cylinders. But was there at any point that this track was challenging you?
Um, yeah, on the long run, it seems to lose brakes very quickly and fast. I think that's just the tires going away, and it feels like you have no brakes. But that's about it. The entry of the corner. Once you get that, you're squared away.
So let's talk about the playoffs. It's been a while since we've seen your 42 truck out on the racetrack. We know that obviously coming into tonight, you had that Martinsville victory. So certainly our eyes were on you with it being another short track. But, we were documenting about the challenges of the upcoming first round where we're kicking things off at a track known as the Lady in Black Darlington. So, what's the confidence level getting this victory here tonight, racking up more playoff points, beginning the playoffs in 2 weeks' time?
Um, I really feel confident, especially I think you said it's Darlington, right? The next
Yep.
track. Yeah, Darlington's one of my better tracks, so hoping to have a strong showing also there, and maybe go for 2 wins in a row.
Obviously different drivers have different ways that they approach the postseason. Here tonight, how did you view the performance? Was it a statement victory of, hey, I'm here to battle for this championship. If you want that trophy, you're going to have to go through me. Was it I want to have good momentum going into the playoffs? I mean, where did this race stand in terms of looking ahead to 2 weeks' time?
I just really wanted to get in here. I hadn't raced in a while in the league, so I just wanted to win, and then have that little. I think I also had to run this to be eligible for the playoffs because I was, I think, right on the points line. So I just wanted to win basically and get away, and get into the playoffs.
Well, he wanted to win, and win he did. Andrew Navarro, your winner here tonight at Lucas Oil Raceway. Andrew, congratulations on the tremendous performance here tonight. Coast to coast pole to win. And now we'll hand the microphone over to you for some victory lane. Thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Martin Sports for being on the hood. Oh my goodness. Premier Racing Setups, iRacing iFlag, Tranquility Sports, everyone that, helps me work on the trucks. So also you guys for broadcasting this, and Matt for putting on this league.
Well, Andrew Navarro heads into the playoffs with a ton of momentum. His third victory on the season tonight under the lights at the Indianapolis Raceway Park. Congratulations on a job well done, Andrew, and we look forward to seeing you go to work for that championship in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you.
So as the celebration continues for Andrew Navarro, I mean, we've already talked about it here, Kyle, the fact that 2 weeks, these drivers head to Darlington to begin the playoffs. We saw a number of drivers here tonight at the short track of IRP with their right sides pretty well mangled or skidded. I think we're going to see a lot more of that when we go to the track Too Tough to Tame, bringing home that souvenir, the famed Darlington stripe.
Yeah, I feel like there's no better track to put into the playoffs, especially maybe as a playoff opener being Darlington Raceway, just such a difficult racetrack. And there's not a single oval on this planet that's like Darlington, and just such a different racetrack. And it really takes a special skill set and a lot of patience to be good there.
So again, as we mentioned, folks, we can tell you that we know for certain Boyd Hogan, Braxton Dewis, Christopher Hill, Chuck Waldrop, Andrew Navarro. Those five we guarantee are going to be in the postseason. They will be battling for the championship. Will they be joined by others? Will it just be those five? That we don't know yet. You're going to have to tune in and find out same time that we find out, and that's when we come back here for the Reaper Speedlab Truck Series on August 31st to kick off the playoffs at the Darlington Raceway. But a wild one here tonight. Some good battles through the field in the closing stages of this race, but nobody was able to touch Andrew Navarro with his dominating performance here tonight, picking up his third checkered flag of the season. Kyle, it's been a good one here tonight under the lights. Appreciate you joining me in the booth.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. Some good racing tonight, going back and forth. But on that last run, Andrew Navarro was just able to drive away, and I'm really looking forward to the beginning of the playoffs at Darlington in 2 weeks' time.
Had a great end to the regular season. Looking forward to a great start for the playoffs. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks' time, continuing on the season here for the MSRA Reaper Speedlab Truck Series. For Kyle Lawrence, I'm Seth Cole. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday evening as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.